Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending this open house for the city's official plan review. Based on the March community engagement session and the spring 2020 survey, 4 discussion papers were made public in November. The draft official plan was provided in late December for public, staff, and agency consideration. The purpose of a draft official plan is to provide all stakeholders with a basis for providing comment to the city. Your written and oral comments are key in helping us get to a final document that reflects the vision of Owen Sounders for how their city will grow and develop, which also embodies the principles of good planning. In times before COVID-19, open houses looked a little bit different, but rest assured we're here today to hear your comments on the draft official plan and to help answer any questions you have at this point in the process. We will be working in the coming weeks on refining the draft based on the public, staff, and agency comments we've received. In the meantime, please check regularly in with the official plan review webpage at www.owensound.ca/official plan update. You can also subscribe to receive updates by clicking the subscribe button at the bottom of this page. Due to COVID-19, Planning Act public engagement sessions, usually held in person, are now being held virtually. This is new to all of us, but we are hopeful that it means that stakeholders will have more opportunity to connect, listen, and engage. In order to help things run smoothly, please note the following housekeeping matters. Unless you're speaking, please keep your microphone muted through the duration of the meeting. We won't be reading received written comments aloud. All written comments are recorded for the public record and considered as we work toward a final draft OP. These will all be shared with council as well. Oral submissions received at this meeting will also form part of the public record. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the OP review webpage. We will begin with a presentation from MHBC Planning on the process and the formulation of the draft OP. If you have questions on the presentation, please take note and save them until the presentation is complete. After the presentation, you'll have an opportunity to comment and ask questions. The recording secretary will go through the registration list and call your first name. When you hear your name, please unmute and let us know your thoughts. If you do not wish to speak, please indicate no comment when you're called upon. You may wish to submit your comments in writing instead, and we welcome that method as well. In the interest of time and ensuring everyone gets a chance to participate, please limit your speaking time to 5 minutes. If you're part of a group or organization with a common message, please select a spokesperson. If there is time at the end of the session, we can open the floor for more comments and questions. Our open house will close at 5 p.m. Now we will move on to our presentation by MHBC Planning. Through a competitive review request for proposals process, MHBC was selected and retained by the city to complete the OP review. Based in Kitchener, MHBC has a wealth of experience completing similar exercises in municipalities throughout the province. MHBC knows Owen Sound well and has completed a number of projects for us in the past, including the city's zoning bylaw, the Retail and Commercial Policy Review Report, and the Recreation Parks and Facilities Master Plan. Please welcome Dave Aston, Vice President, and Liam Murphy, Planner from MHBC Planning.
Great. Thanks, Amy. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks to everyone for joining us this afternoon for this open house. We had an initial meeting at the Bay Shore some time ago where we could meet people in person, and since then we've been doing a lot of these virtual meetings, and look forward to the opportunity this evening to receiving input. I just wondered, just as before we get into this, with the number of people that are here this evening, we've received a number of comments through the process already, and I just wanted to start out by saying this open house is part of the process. And so the comments that we received, we're thankful for receiving those. We've identified some of the themes that we've been receiving, the comments up until yesterday afternoon. So if you provided some comments today, we haven't updated our presentation. It's not that they've been ignored. It's just that we had to complete our presentation really yesterday afternoon to make sure it was prepared for this evening. So I just want to be clear on that. And as Amy had mentioned, we are consolidating all of the comments. Each comment will form part of the public document that will ultimately be part of a report that will be going to council for consideration. So all comments as they're provided will be included into a package. I was just wondering with the group that's here, have people that are in attendance this evening, maybe just quick show of hands if you have provided comments, just to give me some idea already. Okay, some have provided comments. And then also, if you've had a chance to review the background papers and the draft official plan that's on the city's website. Okay, no, that's great. That's helpful. It gives me a sense of working through a presentation. So appreciate that. So tonight, Amy had mentioned in the housekeeping components, wanted to give this brief presentation overview. I'm not going to take much time because I want to make sure everyone has time to comment or share their comments or ask some questions. We would respond this evening on comments associated with the draft official plan. We don't intend tonight to really enter into any debate on the policies. We're really here to receive information that will form part of the public process and the final preparation of the official plan. As far as the official plan and need for update, this occurs at set timelines in the planning process and through the Planning Act, and to ensure consistency with provincial policy that's in place. We're dealing with a new provincial policy statement in 2020. And then any other changes that would occur through Grey County official plan or Niagara Escarpment plan, and to implement recommendations of other studies or master plans that have required policy implementation as adopted by City Council. So right now, we are in the phase of finalizing the official plan. That's going to happen over the next few months, where we are into the public process to obtain feedback on the draft policies. And again, if you have been involved through the process, there was, an initial visioning session. We prepared some background papers and provided those that were input to the official plan. But this release of the draft of the official plan before Christmas was the first time that anyone has had a chance to really take a look at what the draft official plan is and the changes to that plan that have occurred. And there have been changes from the plan that was approved in 2006 to the official plan. So where we are in the process now and the comments that we're receiving are important to us to ensure that we take those comments and consider them as we move forward with the official plan. So there were comments providing some suggestions. There are some comments providing even some recommendations for policy considerations. And all those are great that we receive those because they help us move forward with the plan. So public consultation, as I mentioned, there have been some sessions. The best point of information right now to follow along is the city's website. All of the information that has been undertaken and completed is documented on the city's website, and we'll share the link to that on the slide here. And this presentation will also be uploaded to the city's website following this evening. So the discussion papers, sustainability and climate change, housing and affordability, transportation and infrastructure, land use and design. These were background. We looked at these in context of emerging issues or themes or key matters to address through the official plan review. One of the things that we realized early on in the official plan review that the current city official plan doesn't include a vision statement that would provide the policy basis for the policies within the plan. So part of our original public consultation was visioning, and this is the vision statement that we've proposed in the official plan that through the consultation, through the visioning exercises, that we see as being a good vision statement for the official plan policy for the city. Changes, again, just highlighted here, and I do want to say and recognize that we have received a lot of comments related to sustainability and climate change. And I do want to reference there was a recent submission from the group that provided some comments and recommendations and policy ideas, and those were very helpful. And what I can say is we're taking those into consideration and looking at the draft official plan policies that we have now, and are there changes that need to be made? And you know, those submissions have been very helpful, and I think from this process going forward, we're going to look at those, and I think that you will see some changes being made to the draft policies that incorporate and reflect the comments. So we've introduced policies to address and respond to a changing climate. Again, I know that there were a lot of comments on this, and one of the comments I would make is that when we looked at sustainability and climate change, we were looking at the official plan in a broader perspective, and how do all of the policies work in relation to sustainability and climate change. So there's policies that would relate to specific elements associated with infrastructure design, land use patterns, protecting the natural environment, and all of those that we see as working together as it relates to sustainability and climate change. To address one of the comments that we received, the official plan is a policy document. A climate action plan or a climate master plan or something similar to that effect would be a separate document that the city would undertake that would provide specific details, targets, and actions and monitoring associated with climate change. So the official plan is a component associated with climate change and would set the general policy framework. The real details would come out of something similar to a climate action plan that would follow. So housing and affordability, we looked through additional dwelling unit policies. So that's a change that's occurred in policy as it relates to different types of dwelling units and housing affordability. We looked at the different land use designations and provided additional direction and policy support on daycare centers and group homes and different specialized housing types. and we strengthened affordable and rental housing policy direction. So, for example, this would relate to existing apartment buildings and conversions of those to condominiums. So, how do rental units and ownership units and how do those work within a broader continuum of housing that's provided by the city? We also looked at the transportation and infrastructure and making sure that policy was in place to support the long-term infrastructure needs and capital projects in the city. Strengthened policies and in fact included a number of new policies related to active transportation, including providing priority to living streets or more pedestrian and cycling friendly streets in design. So those were built in right into infrastructure sections that will guide new infrastructure and also urban design sections. So we wanted to make sure that a focus on pedestrians and cycling and alternative modes of transportation were provided. Land use, we reviewed density targets for certain residential density uses, medium and high density, and that was in context of reviewing recent amendments to the city's official plan in areas of new residential development. And the official plan identifies these areas for medium and high density residential, and those generally are in areas that have also been assessed in context of their location to services, to arterial roads, to transit, and so we increased the density for high density residential in those areas. One of the policies that we also, I would say, strengthened and provided further direction on was in support of the city parkland dedication policies, and some further direction on the city receiving parkland dedication through new developments and looking to collect cash in lieu, which they're permitted to do new development or redevelopment. So this is important in achieving the land base for parkland, but also collecting in redevelopment scenarios where those funds could then be used for improvements to parks that may already exist in other urban areas in support of the community. And we also looked at design policies related to safety and security through development design. And these are really principles that would be put into place for new developments and redevelopment to ensure there's, as the picture shows, sidewalk lighting, safe spaces on site so that there's not spaces that are designed where there could be entrapment of people on site. So we took that lens as well as far as making sure in new development and redevelopment the designs are appropriate and safe and compatible with the surrounding area. So the process that we followed, there was an original terms of reference that was approved by the city. The Planning Act identifies certain requirements as far as what needs to be considered in an official plan review, also in context of the public consultation process. The proposed draft plan brings a document into conformity with provincial and county policies, and the policies proposed to be amended, or the new policies, provide a appropriate balance and direction for future land use and sustainability. So what we've heard to date, again, this is our summary of a lot of the detailed comments that we'll be focusing on: need for greater policy direction for climate change and incorporation of climate action plan. And that likely would be in context of official plan providing policy direction for the city to create or approve a climate action plan. Looking at climate change in the design sections and quality of life and urban design and infrastructure. Ensuring, not just encouraging sustainable action. There's a comment associated with density and how that factors into a sustainable community and impacts of intensification on sustainability. We received comments for supporting intensification in the alternative dwelling types. Comments, we did receive a bunch of comments that I would say in context of the official plan, they're kind of at a more detailed level or operational level, but the official plan provides high level policy. So for example, waste management technology and use, and encouraging or speaking to use of green bins. So we respond to that in the policy framework. The official plan isn't at a detail of a document that would require that, but it would speak to waste management opportunities. Need to maintain the cultural heritage policies and in the official plan. There was some property specific input from stakeholders. For example, we own this property. We'd like you to give consideration to it being used for this type of use. And then there's some question and request for us to confirm on timing for council consideration, which I'll do now. So over the next, week and February, we'll be consolidating all of the public and agency comments. We'll be providing a notice of a special meeting of council that will occur in March. There's a further public meeting as required under the Planning Act on February 8th. For that meeting, we'll be preparing a short technical report in which we're looking to take some of the take the comments we've received to date and summarize and provide some considerations for council. Again, those will be recommendations on potential changes to the draft policies that are in place now. And then March and April, there'll be a special meeting of council on March 15th. We'll finalizing the official plan and recommendation report for council in consideration. And what we do with that is typically a component of our report is to complete a public comment and response document. So all of the comments will be identified probably by themes, and then responses provided. But as I mentioned, all of the comments will be attached to the report. And then following council consideration, should council adopt the official plan as is recommended, that's forwarded to the county for final review and approval. The county at that time may have additional modifications, but the county will issue the notice of approval for the official plan. So as Amy mentioned at the beginning, as far as continued involvement and engagement, the webpage is the best source of information. All of the reports and documents are there now, and there's a link where we're hoping that people will continue to provide input and comments or feedback. So that's kind of our brief overview tonight. As I mentioned early on, our hope tonight is to receive comments. If there are some questions of clarification, we will respond to those, but really we're looking to hear further input from everyone here this evening. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dave. And as we move into the next part of our open house, and for the benefit of our participants, just letting you know that Mayor has joined us, as well the city manager is here and the director of community services. So we are eager to hear your feedback. And with that, I will ask that the recording secretary go through your names one by one. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to start just go in order of how people registered. So I'll start with Carol. If you have any questions or comments you'd like to share at this time.
Thank you. No, I don't. Stacy, I have sent to you for inclusion, and you've acknowledged that you've received them. So I'm here to listen and learn, to observe and learn from the public about their input to the official plan.
Thank you. And then next we have Lloyd.
Thank you, and thank you, Dave, for your presentation. I represent a group called Neighborhoods North, which is a group that focuses on specifically on trees. And in your area on sustainability, my concern is that you just don't have enough there to plan for the next 10, 20 years going forward that are policies that have any meat on them. And a lot of it seems very vague. So this is my concern. All of this should be under the umbrella of climate change, in which you've alluded to. And I think we all understand the importance of value that we have with trees, our best value for our dollar in the long term, perhaps, but not just the impact on climate change. This is all part of sustainability and creating a healthy, vibrant community. And so my concern in there's a number of statements which I've made in my written comments, is that unless we know where we're at, we can't go forward. So where are we now in terms of our percent tree cover? And we don't know. And so that's number one. And I think we need to have a statement on that, so we can then set goals. And how can we protect what we currently have unless we have bylaws written into the policy? And I don't see those bylaws to protect trees from being cut down on both public and private land that have got some meat on them. And for example, what took place just near the Best Western Hotel in the fall, or the wiping out for development, just wiping out all the trees without any thought to how we can actually work around that. And I think if we value what we have, we value our natural heritage, we need to protect that. And also, I think that this is a massive task, and it's an exciting task, let me tell you. But I really do believe that there should be a policy on, this is not just a city project, this is a citizens project as well. We're all in this together, all 22 or 23,000 of us. And that I would like to see a policy on a organization such as what we represent, working with the city, hand in glove, planning and an action team to move forward, because I think it's critical. I have mentioned also in my comments about Tree Cities of the World, which is an organization which we could gain status on. And I don't want to go into detail on that right now, but it is a very exciting project and we have a lot of potential. And I think these are the kind of things that we need to be looking at. And because your vision statement that you have right from the get-go is, we value our natural environment. And I'm sure we do, but I don't think the policy at this time really has enough in there to show that we really, really do value it going forward. And so that's my comment. Thanks.
Thank you, Lloyd. We'll go on to Laura next.
Hi, thank you all. My name's Laura Wood, and on behalf of Owen Sound Waste Watchers, I want to thank you for this opportunity to share feedback about the draft official plan issued December the 24th. The focus of our community group is waste, and so we'll speak specifically to the waste management sections of both the previous and new draft official plans. This document will guide all of the city's planning decisions, so it's important it provides clear direction for the work undertaken in the days ahead. Upon review, we found the language contained in these sections unclear. For example, what do words like support, encourage, and discussions around opportunities really mean in terms of measurable waste management practices? We urge the team to update the wording to include language that provides clear communication of measurable action by using words like reduce or improve. In other places, the wording is oddly specific. In section 10.4, the words styrofoam and plastic film are included, not as examples, but items specifically named. While we understand both materials are a challenge to manage, industry is already moving quickly to use more sustainable options. For example, IKEA, the world's largest furniture distributor, introduced mushroom-based biodegradable shipping material to replace styrofoam in 2019. Change is happening quickly, so naming specific objects here may result in focus on items that are no longer an issue in a few short years. As the plan is intended to govern action for many years, we would suggest broader wording be used in this section, like reducing non-compostable waste and all non-recyclable and single-use plastic. Secondly, the Miller Waste contract expires in 2023, so we believe it's important that third-party contracts be addressed within the new plan. In the past, we've been advised that we, the city, and ratepayers are not privy to what happens to waste when acquired by a third-party contractor as it becomes their property. Today, it's common knowledge that less than 10% of what is put in the recycling bin is actually recycled. We know third parties wish to guard proprietary business information. We're simply asking for access to the facts about where our garbage ends up and how much of our recycling is repurposed into useful products. Armed with this information, residents can make choices that better support their desire to recycle and reduce waste. And so we ask that third-party transparency be built into the plan, specifically in the area of waste disposal circumstances. Lastly, the topic of curbside collection of green or organic waste has generated the most calls for change from our members. Today in Canada, 23% of household waste is food scraps. When that material is buried in landfill, it produces methane, an extremely harmful greenhouse gas. A plan that encourages Owen Sounders to personally compost will not have a meaningful impact on reducing garbage. Yes, some of us do compost, but more do not. And encouragement is not a realistic strategy for 39.8% of local people who live in apartment buildings and condos. Thank you for including a commitment to support new waste management strategies, including green box programs in section 10.4. We would like to see wording added that ensures the new programs will be available for all who wish to participate. For green recycling, we believe the curbside pickup option is the best way to do this. The last section added, 10.5, speaks to engaging in discussions around regional waste management opportunities. Economy of scale may make costs slightly lower, but implementation of the new efforts named may be significantly delayed if a regional approach is the only option considered. Can we really afford to wait? Thank you again for allowing Owen Sound Waste Watchers to participate today. We truly appreciate this opportunity to provide our feedback as you plan for our city's future.
Thanks, Laura. We'll move on to Lorianne next.
Sorry, just before we move on to Lorianne, I apologize, Laura. Were those written comments that you were reading from and provided, or are those forthcoming?
They're written comments, and I'd be happy to give you a copy of them.
Yeah, that would be great because I appreciated your where you're making some suggestions on the policy language, and we'd like to take a look at how that fits. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
So Lorianne, if you have any comments or questions?
I'm with Owen Sound Waste Watchers, and Laura's presentation was my presentation as well. So we've got it covered. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Next is a welcome.
Hello. Thank you very much, Dave, for your presentation, which was actually quite insightful. And we met with and it seems like you have already listened to some of the feedback that you got. And I speak for Climate Action Team Owen Sound, but I also speak for myself. So a climate lens was part of the recommendations by you to the city. However, they are not in the official plan draft as we see. Although I see that you have actually put them now into the very last draft that you showed earlier, which I really find helpful. So it is really important that a climate lens needs to be an overarching principle which affects all aspects of the official plan. So our municipality and all three levels of government address climate change, mitigation, and targets. Similar municipalities in the province, some of which you have included in the recommendations, adopted climate change as an integral part of the official plans. Grey County started developing a climate action plan in 2019. Ontario has greenhouse gas emissions targets of reducing emissions to 30% below 2005 levels and by 2030, and nationally of net zero emissions by 2050. Owen Sound's official plan draft has no climate action emission targets, which is a glaring problem when science and climate realities tell us that time is running out on reversing climate change. So my question is, so why does Owen Sound resist being a leader in climate action, which is the right thing to do when we face this existential crisis? And I ask the city, and I ask you, Dave, that the city to sincerely take into consideration the huge importance of being a leader rather than a resistor in adopting a climate action plan and follow federal and provincial climate action targets. And also, I want to comment, Owen Sound is situated on land which since time immemorial has been territory of the indigenous people of this region, in particular the Saugeen and Ojibwe nations and Métis people. Other municipalities, for instance Midland, include as a preamble to the official plan a territorial acknowledgement. I asked the city of Owen Sound as part of Truth and Reconciliation to explore and develop together with our indigenous neighbors a land acknowledgement and include it in the official plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to Sonia.
Uh-oh. My daughter just came home from daycare and she really needs me right now, but we'll see how this goes. So my name is Sonia Ostertag. I'm a resident of Owen Sound. I was raised here and I've come back to Owen Sound to raise my children. I learned about climate change at university about 20 years ago. And then I became a climate change activist during my PhD, which is more than 10 years ago. Now, as a researcher, I'll actually be reviewing the International Panel on Climate Change 6 Assessment Report that will be coming out pretty soon. And I'm committed to acting on the important issue of climate change for my children and also for the Arctic communities that I work with for my research. Those communities are already being impacted greatly due to climate change. And that's why I'm here today. It was so scary to learn about climate change when I was at university. What's more terrifying is watching our politicians delay action to protect our planet and people from a climate catastrophe. It's absolutely tragic being a mother to 3 kids, raising them in a world that is moving towards a climate apocalypse. The climate emergency requires cooperation and collaboration across all levels of government. The climate emergency requires trust between the city's residents and its elected officials. I led a group of youth to City Council in December 2019, and they gave an incredible presentation to Council. Their presentation was so moving that Council committed to identifying a course of action to meet the United Nations emissions targets to achieve 45% reduction of greenhouse gases by 2030 and to reach net zero by 2050. My question, upon reviewing the draft official plan, is how does the official plan respond to the city's commitment to youth to develop a plan to reach these United Nations emissions targets? Has the city identified the state of our carbon budget? What is the plan to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions in Owen Sound? It's critical that City Council adopts an official plan that demonstrates how Owen Sound will reach the United Nations emission targets. At this stage, City Council has failed our city by presenting a draft official plan that omits climate action. And finally, I strongly encourage Owen Sound to hire a climate change specialist immediately to ensure that our official plan and all of our city's decisions have a climate lens so that we can achieve these targets. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to Marianne.
My name is Marianne Alton, and along with your welcome, I'm a member of the Owen Sound Climate Action Team. And our group has submitted a very comprehensive report that I'm sure will be used well by the team as they're looking at the input. There were really 3 key broad areas that were of gravest concern to us as a climate action team. We did not see evidence of the input that has provided in the official plan. Despite what's been stated by Dave in the preamble, we did not see compliance with Ontario planning laws and guidelines. And certainly there wasn't alignment with climate action. In comparison with other municipalities, we see the official plan frame the action that would occur in other plans, for example, climate action plans that has been suggested. We didn't see the Owen Sound official providing for that to occur in other plans that would be linked to the official plan. And it seems very short-sighted to not produce an official plan that would be in compliance with provincial, federal, and municipal positions to make sure that, for example, when Infrastructure Canada money is available, that we're in a position at the front of the line, not even being in line or not in compliance. It was reassuring to hear Dave say that there is going to be an opportunity to have some changes in the official plan reflected based on the input that has been received. I guess we would have concerns, or I personally would have concerns about whether or not that is going to happen this time, because it doesn't appear that that has happened from the first round of consultation. So I sincerely hope that the number of voices that are being heard here today and in the written input that will be received will ensure that our official plan includes real climate action expectations with mitigation and adaptation targets that will help us move in a direction that we need to, with our city providing leadership as the anchored municipality within the region, not waiting for others to do the work and then trying to catch up. Thank you.
Thanks, Marianne. Next, we have 2 Johns, so I'll start with John from Georgian Bluffs.
I think that's me then. I'm John Anderson. I'm a retired scientist. I've been working on climate change for a number of years, giving public talks. I'm the co-producer of the local film that's been been really well received the last year and a half since we released it. And I'm also on the recently formed Citizen Council Task Force in Georgian Bluffs that is called the Climate Action Committee. And I'm part of the Climate Action Team Owen Sound. So as both Joachim and Marianne have stated before me, we have submitted a fairly detailed report. And I'm hearing from Dave that maybe those things are going to be listened to, and maybe we'll see some of those in the new report. I guess my question is, given the discussion papers that was following due process that was set out by the city, we really didn't see that was reflected in that draft official plan. And I wonder what happened between the discussion papers and particularly the sections on sustainability and climate change and land use. And I wonder what happened in the process that those just didn't appear at all in this draft official plan. Thanks. Oh, and I'm going to have to sign off now. I've got a meeting in Georgian Bluffs I've got to go and connect with. So thanks again for this opportunity.
Thanks, John. Next, we'll go on to Gord.
Oh, wait a sec. There's another John.
Yep, John, you're late. The other John's later on. Gord's next in line. Sorry.
With Neighborhoods North, Lord Lewis has already spoken on our behalf. I'm very interested in the urban forest in Owen Sound and the idea of becoming a tree city of the world, which I think would mitigate climate change and make us a healthier, happier city. So that's all I'll say. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gord. Next, we have Scott.
Yeah, I'm Scott Taylor, a planner with the county, and I'm mostly just here to listen today, and I appreciate all the comments that have been brought forward, and I want to say kudos to city staff and their consulting team for giving us this draft to review and comment on, and the county will be submitting our detailed written comments in the future. So thanks for this opportunity.
Thanks, Scott. Next, we have Colleen.
Thanks. I couldn't find the unmute button. My name's Colleen Purdon. I've been a resident of Owen Sound for over 30 years. I was also on council for 4 years. I'm familiar with official plans. My comments are looking more as the effectiveness of this draft plan as an overarching policy framework for our city moving forward. On the website, it says that the official plan is the council's contract to our city's residents. That's us. And it contains the goals, objectives, and policies intended to guide land use, development, and growth in the city over a 20-year time horizon. I think the major issue I have with the draft plan as has been presented is it is really not a contract with us as citizens of Owen Sound. It's a very vague, I would say maybe aspirational document. It has very little in the way of goals or objectives or concrete policies for our city. And then it has a lot of really strange detail that, you know, it goes from the very vague to the very specific with not much in the middle. That's overall, I see that. And in particular around the areas of climate change and a serious plan to have a climate lens over all parts of the official plan. Because as you heard from Sonia, who's my daughter, this is a crisis for us in Owen Sound today. And of course, for the future generations. I was at the March consultation workshop at the Bay Shore was very, very encouraged to see the report, the draft report, and also would like to question what happened, that the really amazing, what I would say was amazing steps forward for our community that came into that draft plan, and it has not appeared in the official plan. It's like it's been edited out. So I feel edited out. As a citizen of this community, I feel that my input and the input of that whole room full of people has been edited out of the draft official plan that's come forward. And now we're looking at maybe sticking in a few little bits. I must say, I find the whole official plan completely unacceptable in 2021 for our community. There's, of course, good things in it, but the really important stuff has been given a big miss. So I really urge council and the consultants to really get serious about this very serious situation for us in our community and for our future. This morning I opened the Globe and Mail, and there was an article, and it was on a report from the World Economic Forum and its risk report, and it was submitted today. This is not a group of tree huggers. This is the top industrialists and the corporations of the world that meet annually to, or not annually, yeah, they meet to look at the state of the world. And here are the top 5 risks that they have identified. The first is extreme weather. The second is climate action failure. And I think this official plan is climate action failure. The third is human environmental damage. The fourth is infectious diseases. And the fifth is biodiversity loss. What I'm trying to say is that this is serious stuff. We need to be serious in terms of addressing these issues in our community. And the other thing that this report included was a statement that the World Economic Forum says that the pandemic has shown that ignoring potential dangers, such as pandemics, only makes it harder to tackle them once they happen. This group first warned about pandemics 15 years ago in its debut World Risks Report, and that the action that was necessary to prepare for pandemics, to mitigate exposure, to have systems in place to help us address the knowledge that we know a pandemic is coming, got ignored. And here we are today on a WebEx. So we can't just stick our heads in the sand about climate change. And I really urge everyone with the consulting team. It was such an encouraging meeting in March. It really was. I was shocked. I mean, I've been to lots of public meetings, and the usual is you don't have much of a chance to speak, and the recommendations get ignored, from my perspective, very often. And also when I was on council. So I was encouraged by that and dismayed that on December 24th, of all dates, the new official plan draft was released. Okay, how many people are paying attention on the 24th of December? And it didn't include most of the input that we provided. Thanks for this opportunity to vent. I really appreciate it.
I wasn't on, sorry. We're moving on to the second John.
Thanks very much. I'm here representing the Ontario Masonry Association, known as Masonry Works. And I'm here, certainly Owen Sound and this part of the province is very important when it comes to the brick and stone industry. And so that's why we're here providing comment on your official plan. Our key message for you is if you are if you're concerned about the quality of your housing stock or your and your built form, we would certainly encourage you to pay close attention to urban design guidelines and the language that you put in your official plan that gives strength and gives some teeth to your urban design guidelines. There are a lot of municipalities that do put some actual urban design language within their OPs, normally because they're small municipalities and they don't have the resources to do separate urban design guidelines. So municipalities actually around the size of Owen Sound, a municipality like Cornwall has actual language related specifically to the urban design guidelines, and particularly matters of exterior design. In other words, the kind of the Section 41 stuff of the Planning Act, and that gives the municipality some control over the built form when it comes to exterior design. And for the masonry industry, we focus on quality, and we also include our architectural quality when it comes to that. So we really encourage you to pay close attention to that. And if you don't have, if you're not going to be putting the urban design guideline language into your OP, then certainly make lots of references to the guidelines that you're going to be creating. And then when you do create your urban design guidelines, from what we understand in terms of some of the work that we've done to review responses from the LPAT, is that when you do your consultation on your urban design guidelines to give them the same teeth as your OP, then you have to have a consultation process that's similar to your OP. And if you do that, then you can provide. Then you can give some teeth to those design guidelines. And the reason why we're recommending that you have those that pay attention to the kind of quality housing and housing stock that you have is because if you don't have those design guidelines in place, and there's a builder who either comes to town or let's say comes to town and wants to build some things that are really substandard, and that municipality doesn't like, you really don't have a leg to stand on in terms of stopping it. So getting those design guidelines in and with teeth will give the municipality the opportunity to ensure that the quality of the housing stock and the quality of the architecture are actually intact, and Owen Sound builds the kind of community that the vision statement certainly wants to build. So as it relates to the specificity of language, I'll just make some comment about that as well. From a bit of the language that we got as it relates to urban design, there's similar kind of vague language, and the problem with vague language, particularly when you're dealing with builders and developers, is that squishy kind of language leaves it open to interpretation. So the municipality says, "Oh, it means." Developer says, "No, I think it means that." And by not being specific is when you run into the problems of the fighting and the delays that prevent the building and good building to happen. So we encourage you to be specific in your language as well, so that way builders and developers know exactly what it is to expect, and that will facilitate and speed up the process, and it will also ensure that you get the kind of quality that you want as for your housing stock. Because one last thing is we call our initiative Building Tomorrow's Heritage Neighborhoods Today, and that's because the decisions that are being made today are 100-year decisions. The housing stock that's being approved by council and planning departments today will be around in 100 years. And by paying attention to the quality of that housing stock now, you've got the tools to do it. By paying attention to that now, will ensure that 100 years from now you have a community and you have a municipality that you're proud of. That's it for me. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Next, we'll go on to Andrew.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm here also with Masonry Works, and we designated John as our spokesperson, so I'll defer my time.
Thanks, Andrew. Next, we'll go on to Kelsey.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to be here. I'm Kelsey Carey. I'm a member of the Glassworks Cooperative. That's a group of concerned citizens. bring sustainable and affordable housing and economic development opportunities to Owen Sound. And we submitted a detailed letter, and there's been so many eloquent speakers, I won't belabor any of the points that have already been made. I just wanted to acknowledge the great work that went into the discussion papers, the committed and aspiring vision statement that you guys wrote about the official plan, and acknowledge how much of the feedback that has been super focused around climate and sustainability. And Dave, you acknowledged all of it. You guys have done a great job on following up on everybody's comments, and clearly you've heard the feedback. And I just wanted to kind of highlight the fact that you mentioned that the official plan isn't really like on the level of detail to take that into consideration in this kind of document. But as Laura mentioned, there is hyper detail about many issues. And as Colleen mentioned, that our official plan, it's our contract with the citizens of the city, between the municipality and the citizens. And if it's meant to guide the next 20 years of development and goals and planning and objectives for the city of Owen Sound, I have a master's in planning. I've read lots of official plans too, and I would argue that this is exactly the place to make those really strong and clear commitments to sustainability and climate change. So thank you so much for hearing us all.
Thanks, Kelsey. Next, we'll go on to Zoe.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. I would like to say that Kelsey Carrier speaks on my behalf in relation to Glassworks Co-op, and also the eloquent comments and passionate comments of the Joaquin's family. So Colleen and Sonia, very much in support of those. Also, Marianne Caswell and Laura's statements. I very strongly support as a citizen of Owen Sound. And also I want to also mention John Anderson, and there's been so many good comments that I strongly support, as well as Lloyd. The only thing I would like to add are a few comments about establishing a baseline for understanding our total footprint in the city. There's a saying, you can't manage what you can't measure. So I'm asking, when and how does that get implemented if not in the official plan? We need to be accountable to our youth who have been valiantly lobbying the city for climate action all throughout 2019, and under Sonia's great leadership have brought to council very passionate speakers who appear to have the support of council in a unanimous vote, December 2nd, 2019. 2020, we're still seeing those children having to advocate on behalf of their own futures, including my own children, and it breaks my heart. I don't know how we demonstrate accountable leadership at the municipal level without responding with adequate policy, clear guidelines, and mechanisms for measurement on our progress. We're the adults here. Let's do our job. I do have a question. Perhaps you can answer this one. I'm concerned also about our duty to consult with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation as the traditional guardians of this land for time immemorial, as Joaquin so appropriately pointed out. Have they been consulted in relation to the development of the city plan? I also wanted to say how much I appreciate the recommendations and the background papers that were prepared. I was incredibly hopeful on the basis of the recommendations that came from staff. And I would like to echo the clear question to the council about how the disconnect occurred between these strong objectives and the obvious love of nature that we have in our area, that everything that means living here is great, where we want to live, this beautiful environment. I wonder why it's not showing up in policy, in black and white, in measurable terms. Thank you.
Thank you. So next we'll go on to Sylvia.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. I am a member of the Glassworks cooperative, so Kelsey did and Zoe spoke on our behalf.
Thank you. Next we'll go on to Tom.
I guess I'm the only Tom here. Anyhow, I've already written my comments, so they will be already filed. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. And lastly, we have David. Yeah, I'm not sure if maybe he can't unmute.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry, I was muted.
Thanks, Dave.
I'm not terribly well prepared. I had a cursory review of the plan. What I got from it is a lot of the wording is vague. Like in the public transit section, it said that council would should encourage building new homes and transit routes rather than, but it's not very specific. And I think that since so much talk about climate change it has been going on in regard to the city council and the concern of the citizens in this city, I don't see why they're not being more specific. And I think, as Zoe was saying, that we really need a baseline to measure what we're doing here, and doesn't seem to be any allowance for that in the plan. And maybe that's why that I know this. I see that the money allocated for a climate change staff member at the city has been reallocated. I know Wayne Ritchie, when he was city manager before he retired, he said that there wasn't bandwidth among the city staff to deal individually in their departments with climate change issues, and now they seem to have scrapped that whole notion, even though it was agreed upon unanimously by city council. And I'm wondering why that is, and is that even allowable under the city's ordinances? I think that's about all I have to say. I think a lot of the other people have already said a lot of the things I've been thinking. That's about it.
Thank you very much. And just to circle
Okay.
back on a question, a technical circulation question we received there, whether or not our Indigenous communities were circulated on the statutory notices, draft official plan, etc. And I can confirm that they were. And we have actually already received comment from our historic Saugeen Métis agency partners, but we have not received comment from Saugeen Ojibwe Nation at this point. And with that, unless anyone, Dave or anyone in this room wants to have any closing remarks, I will say thank you all for participating. And as we've noted, we are going to continue on our good work and take your comments submitted today and those written comments we've received to date and carry on with our work on the draft official plan. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody, for all your amazing input.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
I'm done.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.